Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. wins a 10-round unanimous decision over Marcos Reyes. This was Chavez Jr.'s comeback fight, I guess you would call it, after his defeat at the hands of Andre Fonfara, where he basically quit after getting dropped heavily. And this was supposed to be back at 168 pounds, super middleweight, but Chavez Jr. couldn't make weight, surprise, surprise. So it was actually fought at a catch weight of 170 pounds. And his opponent, Marcos Reyes, is basically a blown up light middleweight. Certainly a blown up middleweight. And you got to respect a trier. Me anyway, I always respect someone who's a trier. But I've never seen a guy in all my years and all my decades watching the sport of boxing. I've never seen a fighter with such little talent get so much exposure as Chavez Jr. I've never seen anything like it. The guy just cannot fight. And the fights that he has won against legitimate competition, particularly when he was back down at middleweight, people like Andy Lee, he wins those fights, or he won those fights, simply because he was massively bigger than his opponents, and he was simply able to overpower them just because of his sheer size. I mean, this guy seriously is pushing cruiserweight when he's in a boxing ring. That's how much weight he's cutting to get down to fight at middleweight, super middleweight, even light heavyweight when he fought Fonfara. Even though Fonfara is a lot more similar in size to Chavez Jr. Chavez Jr.'s body still looked a hell of a lot bigger than Fonfara's. This guy is literally a cruiserweight. And tonight he was in there against Marcos Reyes, who's a blown up light middleweight. The size difference looked ridiculous. And even then, it was a fairly competitive fight all the way through. Why? Because Chavez Jr.'s skills, or lack thereof, are just shocking. Shocking. This guy is painfully slow, has got no reflexes at all, and he's winning his fights simply because of the size of him, because he's so much bigger than his opponents that they're not usually able to hurt him, and he's able to just march forward, get them on the back foot, and land these big, crude, clubbing shots to the body without any great degree of accuracy. And I know it sounds like I'm being harsh on the guy, but I'm just being real. This guy cannot fight. He's just big, and God knows how he manages to cut the weight to get down. He's obviously rehydrating intravenously, definitely, to be able to cut that kind of weight and get back up again. And he's probably still using diuretics. He's been caught for diuretics before to get the weight off, and then probably rehydrating intravenously, because that's the quickest and most effective way to do it. But I've never seen the extreme weight cutting that Chavez Jr. was doing, certainly when he was down at middleweight. I mean, it's a massive amount of weight he must have been cutting, then coming in the ring way over 180 pounds. Sometimes 190. In fact, there have been many occasions where Chavez Jr. has refused to step on the scales on fight night. So Showtime or HBO or whoever, whichever network he was fighting on at the time, could weigh him on the day, because his weight would have definitely been, what's the word I'm looking for? Astronomical? Nah. Absurd, ridiculous, shocking how high his weight would have been. This guy's probably been pushing 200 pounds seriously in many of his fights. Anyway, people, let me know what you think about this performance by Chavez Jr. He's with Robert Garcia now. Like I say, he's a trier. He's trying his best. He's trying to make 168. I can't see him being very successful at super middleweight. It's the division with plenty of talent, but he's trying to improve. Robert Garcia is going to need a lot of time with Chavez Jr. and Chavez Jr. is going to need to dedicate himself and stop being the prima donna that he often is. That's why Freddie Roach stopped working with him, because the guy's a prima donna. Even in this fight against Reyes, before I close out this video, that prima donna attitude that Chavez Jr. had reared its ugly head once again. And the referee should be ashamed of himself because he deducted a point from Reyes in the 9th round for a clash of heads, which clearly, obviously, and blatantly was not Reyes's fault. If anything, it was Chavez Jr.'s fault. I'm not saying that clash of heads right there did produce a cut on Chavez Jr.'s eye, but it wasn't a clash of heads that warranted a point deduction from either man. But if you were going to deduct a point, you would have to deduct a point from Chavez Jr. in that situation because he was the one coming in with his head, coming forward. Reyes was just standing there still. And Chavez Jr. came in with his head. They clashed heads. Chavez Jr. got cut. And then the referee deducted a point from Reyes after Chavez Jr. was complaining and saying, oh, my eye, and this, that, and the other, doing all this prima donna shit. Shocking stuff. Really, really shocking stuff. And Chavez Jr. was booed loudly by the whole crowd in the post-fight interview after the fight. This is a Mexican fight. This fight was in Texas, people, full of Mexicans, and he got booed. What can I say? Drop your comments below and let me know how you felt about this fight. And do you think that Chavez Jr. can actually do anything at super middleweight? I don't, because the guy just don't have the talent. Maybe you feel different. It's happening. I'm out.